You know, and Faith and I have never performed together. You know, we have never done anything on camera together besides clips. For many years, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill have been viewed as the ideal pair of country music captivating crowds with their popular tunes and a storybook romance. From their peak times in the 90s and 2000s to now, their bond has kept on being respected by countless people. However, now, all things have shifted. Faith is dealing with a sorrowful medical condition, and Tim has taken a touching decision to pause his professional life so he can remain by his spouse's side during this tough period. Admirers are devastated to witness the pair once seen as the symbol of excellence, confronting the biggest obstacle they have ever needed to face. Let us explore more thoroughly the durability of their affection during this chaotic phase. Tim McGraw was born and brought up in Delhi, Louisiana. His mother, Betty Ann or Betty D'Agostino, was a server from Florida. His father was no one else than Tug McGraw, a renowned baseball thrower who competed for the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. Betty encountered Tug while she was still in high school. At that moment, they resided in the same housing building while Tug was competing for the Jacksonville Suns. Expecting as a youth, Betty was dispatched by her relatives to Louisiana to stay with family members. Tim matured thinking that his stepfather, Horace Smith, was his real parent. He even used the last name Smith. All changed when Tim became 11. While looking through his mother's wardrobe for objects to utilize for a class assignment, he unintentionally discovered his birth document. That was the instant he discovered that Tug McGraw was his actual dad. This discovery resulted in their initial encounter organized by Betty. At the start, Tug strongly rejected the fatherhood, and this went on for 7 years. It was not until Tim became 18 that the two made peace. From that moment forward, dad and son developed a tight bond that continued until Tug's passing in 2004. Even prior to learning that his real dad was a well-known sportsman, Tim had enjoyed athletics from a youthful age. He competed in baseball eagerly and joined the Future Farmers of America initiative in high school. After finishing school, he obtained a baseball grant to Northeast Louisiana University and at first intended to study legal matters. Nevertheless, Tim's university existence took an unforeseen shift when he experienced a knee damage, terminating his ambition of turning into a professional sportsman. Ironically, that distressing pivot unlocked the entrance to a fresh route, his enthusiasm for melodies. During university, Tim mastered to operate the guitar and sang to make additional funds. He frequently joked that his flatmate struck his guitar numerous times because he performed so poorly. In 1987, his mother relocated back to Jacksonville, Florida, and Tim chose to accompany her. He registered at the Florida Community College at Jacksonville, performed in nearby groups, and labored diligently to improve his melodic abilities. A significant pivot arrived in 1989 when his melodic hero Keith Whitley died. The information profoundly influenced Tim and motivated him to create a daring choice. He quit university and traveled directly to Nashville to chase his ambition of turning into a country vocalist. That hazardous choice formally indicated the start of the path that would convert him into a megastar adored by millions. Tim's melody profession started in 1990 when he attracted the notice of Curb Records. He taped a sample and mailed it to his dad, Tug. A companion of Tug's happened to listen to the sample while traveling in the vehicle with him and urged Curb to investigate Tim. A few weeks afterward, Tim was asked to sing his sample for the company's leaders and was given a recording agreement. On March 29, 1991, Tim launched his first single, What Room Was the Holiday In? Though it did not appear on the Billboard country music listings, the tune still created a specific amount of interest. A show overseer at WSM in Nashville included the piece to their selection and remarked that it displayed Tim's promise. Another overseer from WXDU in Philadelphia stated that while the tune itself was not especially unforgettable, Tim's link to his renowned dad made him fascinating enough to feature on broadcast. In April 1993, Tim launched his first album named Tim McGraw. It stays the only album in his profession not to get a sales approval and did not reach the top country albums listing. The album included 3 singles, Welcome to the Club, Memory Lane, and Two Step, but none of them arrived at the top 40 on the country listing. At that moment, Tim was still fighting to locate his spot and stayed largely unknown by the audience. 2 tunes, Memory Lane and Tears in the Rain, were jointly composed with Joe Diffie. However, the initial album still created little effect. Nevertheless, all shifted with his following album, and his universe entirely changed. Not much after its launch, the album turned into the top-selling country recording of 1994 that the primary single, Indian Outlaw, caused debate due to its cliché depiction of Native Americans. Some broadcast stations even declined to air it. Ironically, the debate only increased more curiosity. Indian Outlaw turned into Tim's initial major success, arriving at the top 10 on the U.S. country listings, reaching number 8 and climbing to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. The next single, Don't Take the Girl, was the genuine discovery. The tune rose to number 1 on the U.S. country listing and arrived at number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100. It permitted crowds to observe Tim's sentimental profundity, a robust performer with exceptional tenderness. Down on the Farm pursued ascending to number 2, and the album's main track became his second number 1 success in early 1995 that the last single, Refried Dreams, reached number 5. The album Not a Moment Too Soon sold over 6 million units and led both the Billboard 200 and the country albums listing. Its huge triumph gained Tim a lengthy catalog of prizes, Album of the Year and Leading New Male Singer at the 1994 Academy of Country Music Awards. Billboard also designated it the leading country album of the year. This album propelled Tim McGraw from an unfamiliar title to one of the most radiant celebrities in country music. And around that identical period, Faith Hill was starting to create her own influential impression on the music field. Faith Hill was born in Ridgeland, Mississippi near Jackson, and was taken in as a baby by Edna and Ted Perry. They brought her up next to their 2 natural sons in the tiny town of Star, about 20 miles from Jackson. Faith matured in a household with a firm Christian base, and her enthusiasm for vocalizing appeared very soon. At just 3 years old, she vocalized for the initial time at the Star Baptist Church. By age 7, she was assuredly singing at local occasions, including the 4-H luncheon in 1976. Before she became 9, Faith observed Elvis Presley sing at the State Fair Coliseum in Jackson, a show that sparked her wish to appear on platform. As a youth, Faith entered a gospel ensemble called the Steele Family. The ensemble frequently sang at nearby churches. At 17, she created her own group and vocalized at rodeos as well as minor assemblies. After completing high school, Faith registered at Hines Community College, but she shortly departed to completely dedicate to her melodic ambition. At 19, Faith relocated to Nashville, resolved to chase country music. Her initial days there were tremendously challenging. She once tried out to be a support vocalist for Reba McEntire, but was turned down. The vocalist selected instead of Faith afterward perished in a tragic aircraft accident along with 6 participants of Reba's group in 1991, a shattering event that rattled the country music society. To maintain herself, Faith accepted various positions. She labored at McDonald's, a position she later confessed she really hated. She also labored as an assistant at a music publishing firm and sold T-shirts. A pivot arrived when a colleague unintentionally listened to Faith vocalize. Her employer was enchanted by her potent voice and motivated her to attempt taping samples. Faith's initial major chance arrived when she vocalized support for composer Gary Burr at the Bluebird Cafe, a renowned Nashville location where many youthful performers are found by recording companies. One evening, Martha Sharp, a leader at Warner Brothers, happened to be in the crowd and was instantly amazed by Faith's voice. This meeting resulted in discussions for a recording agreement with Faith in 1988. During this period, Faith wedded Daniel Hill, a music field leader. However, the union finished in separation in 1994, just as her profession was launching. This indicated a major pivot for Faith, who was ultimately starting to obtain the acknowledgement she truly merited for her skill. From a young woman brought up in a tiny Mississippi town to her path of chasing the performing arts in Nashville, Faith Hill's route was characterized by resolve and the capability to ascend after difficulty. It did not require long before she turned into one of the most exceptional voices in country music. In 1993, Faith launched her initial album, Take Me's I Am, and it right away created an effect. The single Wild One ascended to number 1 on the Billboard Country listing in 1994. Thanks to this success, Faith became the initial female country performer in 30 years to occupy the number 1 position for 4 successive weeks. and remarkable achievement for someone so fresh to the field. In addition, her rendition of Piece of My Heart also led the country listing that identical year, converting Faith into a ascending phenomenon in the music arena. The album sold over 3 million units, a figure that demonstrated how rapidly Faith captured the affections of the crowd. Tunes like Take Me's I Am emphasized her potent voice and assured platform attendance. This triumph was what ultimately guided Faith Hill to the man who would afterward become her life companion and melodic partner. The pair initially encountered in 1996 when Faith entered Tim McGraw's Spontaneous Combustion tour as the starting performer. At that moment, both had just emerged from prior bonds. It did not require long for a profound link to rapidly develop between them. That we were youthful, reckless, and wildly in affection, Tim McGraw remembered, of the fervent romance that flowered while they were on tour collectively. Their affection only increased more powerful with each halt of the tour. By October of that identical year, the two were wedded. McGraw enjoys to recount the tale of his unplanned engagement on the event of their 19th wedding anniversary. He disclosed the tale with admirers. The engagement occurred on June 26, 1996, backstage at a country music celebration after the two had spent time traveling together on a wet day. As they rested together in a trailer, McGraw humorously raised the concept of matrimony, but then understood high-intended every term. He grasped Faith's hand, descended on one knee, and inquired, "Will you wed me?" Faith chuckled. In that instant, at a country music celebration in a trailer with an unforeseen engagement, she playfully instructed him to proceed on platform and sing first because she was not certain what her response would be. When McGraw came back after his show, he observed Faith's response inscribed on the mirror with a marker and lipstick. "Yes, I am going to be your spouse," encircled by innumerable lipstick smooches. That message indicated the start of one of the most cherished affection tales in the realm of country music. Faith Hill and Tim McGraw's matrimony was organized as an astonishment that amazed everyone. They requested relatives and companions to what appeared like a basic assembly. In the requests, attendees were informed to anticipate a softball match and a performance in McGraw's hometown of Rayville, Louisiana. But when they reached, they were welcomed by a moving sight beneath the limbs of a huge, ancient oak tree. The pair stood next to a clergy member prepared to swap promises. Hill, shining with happiness and 3 months expecting at that moment, donned a basic white gown. She went without shoes with her own rustic down-to-earth appeal, paired with No. 9 style mitts and a refined strand of pearls. McGraw also selected a basic appearance wearing jeans and a black coat. The ritual was cozy, sincere, and truly mirrored who they were. A flawless start for their common path, joined in both affection and their enthusiasm for melodies. After they wedded, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill greeted 3 daughters, Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey. By 2020, all 3 had matured and departed residence formally, rendering them empty nesters. Since 1996, the lasting durability off-tier bond has kept on motivating respect. So, what has assisted their union endure so long? McGraw believes it rests in the vow they created to confront every difficulty collectively. In a latest discussion, he disclosed that from the instant they became wedded and began a household, they vowed each other they would not depart when difficult periods emerged. During the beginning years of their union, McGraw fought with alcoholism, an issue that once produced strain within their household and bond. He believes that belief and spirituality functioned as the base that assisted him dedicate to alteration. On a broadcast, he openly confessed that had he not wedded Faith at the age of 29, his profession might have fallen apart or even worse. It was her backing, motivation, and trust in him that provided him the power to conquer dependency and aim toward a healthier existence. For many years, the pair also traveled together. Those common adventures fortified their connection and assisted keep McGraw stable even though existence on the road was filled with obstacles. Their insistence in confronting difficulties side by side, as well as their profound gratitude for one another, constructed a firm base for their union. There is no unique mystery to a joyful union, but it is evident that affection, admiration, and emphasizing household are the elements that have maintained them united. Admirers keep on hoping that this cherished country music pair will stay side by side for many more years ahead. But was Faith Hill's existence really as flawless as it seemed on the exterior? Worries about her wellness resurfaced once more, leading admirers to fear she might be fighting with neck problems again. These anxieties initially appeared back in the 1990s when she was compelled to postpone taping her following album due to operation after a ruptured blood vessel. By 2015, focus moved back to her wellness when she showed up at the Oscars hand-in-hand with Tim McGraw, displaying a noticeably brief haircut. What ignited discussion was not only the fresh hairstyle, but also the visible mark on her neck, a T that moment. Sources disclosed that Hill had experienced operation in January 2015 toe-tackle issues from an ancient damage. The process called anterior cervical discectomy and fusion was performed to ease discomfort caused by a bulging disc. Her recuperation appeared to proceed easily. Nevertheless, gossips surrounding Hill's wellness persisted for years. Many pondered whether she kept on experiencing from neck difficulties. To this day, Hill and her group have stayed quiet about the newest conjecture, departing admirers concerned, speculating, and yet optimistic for the finest. Speculating about anyone's wellness can be damaging. Disseminating unconfirmed details can create needless alarm, increase stress, and adversely influence their household and those who worry about them. It also violates seclusion, something particularly delicate when someone is attempting to recover quietly. Chadwick Boseman's situation is an obvious instance. He battled cancer in secrecy, and the planet only discovered the reality after his demise. Before that, remarks about his look increased stress to his load. For this cause, honoring individual limits and awaiting formal details, if they decide to disclose it, is vital rather than stoking gossips. For Faith Hill, as with anyone confronting and managing wellness matters privately, can be a vital part of recuperation. Providing her the room to tend for herself is an action of comprehension and assists decrease public stress during a susceptible period. If Faith Hill's profession path has demonstrated anything, it is her toughness and capability to ascend more powerful after each break. After the enormous triumph of her album, It Matters to Me, she halted taping for 3 years. 4 years of nonstop traveling rendered her desire to retreat and concentrate on her expanding household with Tim McGraw. Even while she was not actively launching melodies, Faith and McGraw still discovered methods to foster their common melodic link. Their initial duet, It's Your Love, turned into a discovery, occupying the #1 position on the country listing for 6 weeks. The tune gained them various prizes from both the Academy of Country Music and the Country Music Association, indicating the initial notable achievement of their profession as a pair. Faith once disclosed that every time she sang It's Your Love on platform with McGraw, it seemed like an instant that existed only between the two of them, as if the planet around them disappeared. That sentimental link radiated to the crowd and mirrored how profoundly she infused her soul into both household and creativity. Faith's power rests in her capability to recognize when to retreat to refresh and when to come back with complete power. This is why she is viewed as a genuine fighter, always sustaining equilibrium between her individual existence and the requiring rhythm of her profession. Her shift between country and pop melodies became more apparent when she created an amazing comeback in 1998 with her third album, Faith. This endeavor displayed a fresh path as she combined pop components with her trademark country approach, raising her profession to an even higher degree. The success this kiss rapidly controlled the country listings and also ascended to #7 on the pop listing. Admirers accepted it eagerly, assisting the album sell over 6 million units. Other prominent pieces included her duet with Tim McGraw, Just to Hear You Say That You Love Me, along with the singles Let Me Let Go and Secret of Life. The drive kept on with the launch of Breathe in November 1999. The album immediately led both the Billboard Country Albums listing and the all-category listing, even exceeding new launches by major celebrities such as Mariah Carey. Breathe bore a gentler, more sentimental tone centered around motifs of affection. The main track, Breathe, turned into a sensation, ascending to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, while The Way You Love Me arrived at #6. The album gained Faith 3 Grammy prizes, including Best Country Album and Best Female Country Vocal Show, and sold almost 10 million units globally. With Breathe, Faith's persona also changed greatly in melody clips and advertising looks. She offered a more assured, developed, and enchanting character. The year 2000 became one of the busiest of her existence. She traveled with McGraw and created looks in several major TV specials, such as VH1 Behind the Music, VH1 Divas 2000, and A&E Intimate Portrait. She adorned major platforms, sang at the Grammy Awards and the Academy Awards, and vocalized the national song at Super Bowl 2000 and 2000 at the identical time. Faith inked in support agreement with CoverGirl, showed up prominently on numerous magazine fronts, and created the Best Attired catalog by Mr. Blackwell, notably as the only vocalist among a catalog mostly occupied with performers and other public personalities. That identical year, she and her spouse initiated the initial Soul Tour, distributing their affection and melodies to admirers across the United States. Faith also taped the tune Where Are You Christmas for the soundtrack of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, composed by James Horner, Will Jennings, and Mariah Carey. The tune rapidly obtained extensive fame across both pop and country listings. Nevertheless, her overpowering triumph also rendered Faith a topic of conversation within the country music society. Many queried whether she was moving away from her country origins to pursue a more pop-affected sound. But Faith reconfirmed her affection for the style when she captured the CMA Prize for Female Singer of the Year in her approval address. She stressed her steadfast enthusiasm for country music. In 2001, Faith taped There You'll Be for the Pearl Harbor movie soundtrack. The tune had initially been composed for Celine Dion, and when Faith sang it, it turned into one of her most adored tunes. Its triumph resulted in the launch of There You'll Be, the Best of Faith Hill, a collection album produced particularly for the global market. The album contained dance-style remixes of successes like Breathe and The Way You Love Me, along with fresh versions of several of her famous pieces, such as Piece of My Heart. There You'll Be kept on gaining Faith Grammy and Oscar nominations. By 2002, Faith launched her fifth studio album, Cry. The album exhibited the complete strength and sentimental profundity of her voice and finished her shift into a pop-leaning sound, with only faint hints of country staying. Cry premiered at #1 on both the pop and country listings. Nevertheless, the singles from the album did not obtain extensive broadcast on country radio. Instead, they obtained more pull with adult contemporary audiences and in global markets. Even so, the album stayed triumphant, selling over 3.7 million units globally, and one of its pieces, Baby You Belong, gained a Grammy Prize and was selected as part of the soundtrack for Disney's Lilo and Stitch. The accompanying melody clip combined scenes from the film with Faith's show. Another tune, When the Lights Go Down, was utilized to advertise a special NBC show that provided admirers a behind-the-scenes glance at Cry and featured Faith singing several of her older successes in a country approach. In 2005, Faith Hill indicated an obvious comeback to her country origins with the album Fireflies. Upon launch, the album instantly ascended to #1 on both the Billboard Country Albums listing and the all-category Billboard 200. This success rendered Hill one of the few performers to premiere 3 albums at #1 on both listings. The primary single Mississippi Girl rapidly turned into one of the most influential profession starters she had ever launched. The tune narrates Hill's path and Mississippi raising and was composed by John Rich of Big and Rich and Adam Shankle specifically for her. In addition, Hill taped 2 more John Rich works, Sunshine and Summertime, and Like We Never Loved at All, both of which turned into major successes. The album also bore an unprocessed, sincere tone with sentimental pieces such as Firefly Stealing Kisses and If You Ask, Ask All, composed by Lori McKenna. Hill even sang these tunes with McKenna on the Oprah Winfrey program in 2006. After 6 years of emphasizing her offspring and retreating from traveling, Hill and Tim McGraw formally came back with the Soul 2 tour. The tour turned into an enormous sensation, earning $90 million and becoming the highest profiting country music tour at that moment. Soul 2 not only triumphed, but controlled the year. Polestar designated it the largest tour of the year, exceeding even titans like Madonna and the Rolling Stones. Building on this drive, in 2007, Faith Hill launched the collection album The Hits. The assortment featured 13 of her most remarkable tunes from 1993 to 2005 along with 2 fresh pieces, Lost and Red Umbrella. A special version of the album contained a DVD featuring an assortment of her melody clips. That identical year, Hill worked with Tim McGraw on his album Let It Go, taping 2 duets, I Need You and Shotgun Rider. Both tunes rapidly turned into highlights of the continuing Soul II Soul Tattoo tour. By the conclusion of the year, I Need You gained the pair 2 Grammy nominations, Best Country Partnership with Vocals and Best Country Tune 2008. During that year, Hill also accepted the position of starting voice for Sunday Night Football on NBC, entering into the spot formerly occupied by Pink. She stayed with the show from 2007 through 2013, providing a lively season-starting show each year. Faith's influence kept on growing when she launched her initial Christmas album, Joy to the World, in 2008. The album was cordially accepted in the piece. A Baby Changes Everything ascended to #1 on Billboard's Adult Contemporary listing. Faith Hill indicated several other unforgettable instances in 2009 when she sang America the Beautiful during a pre-game program of Super Bowl 43 in 2010. She sang The Winner Takes It All at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame occasion, and she provided the long and winding road at the White Houseian tribute of Paul McCartney, a ritual attended by President Obama. Hill also contributed her voice to the tune Give In to Me for the Country Strong movie soundtrack, a movie that featured Tim McGraw. She afterward added to a homage album for Loretta Lynn with the tune Love Is the Foundation. In addition, Hill sang All I Ever Wanted, composed by Ryan Tedder for the movie Life as We Know It. The piece was featured in the film's preview as well as in the concluding credits. Throughout the 2000s and into the 2010s, Faith Hill's melodic profession kept on sustaining robust impact. In 2011, she came back to the studio to tape fresh tunes with maker Brendan O'Brien, best recognized for his labor with Bruce Springsteen and Pearl Jam along with popmaker Brian Kennedy. Hill voiced her wish for this album to seem genuine, to mirror her existence truthfully, and to bear sentimental profundity and honesty. In November 2011, she previewed her fresh endeavor by singing Come Home, our work of One Republic's tune at the CMA Awards. By 2012, Hill kept on disclosing 2 more fresh pieces, Illusion and Come to Me, at the CMA Music Festival, guiding admirers to think the album launch was close, though Hill maintained the start date secret. That identical year, she launched the single American Heart, accompanied by a melody clip. Nevertheless, the complete album never appeared, departing admirers increasingly interested and anxious. Meanwhile, Hill and Tim McGraw stayed occupied with a sequence of shows. In 2012, they brought the Soul II Soul Tour to Australia and afterward initiated a stay at the Venetian in Las Vegas, operating from December 2012 through April 2014. The program was a huge triumph, displaying once more their lasting affection for melodies and the platform. In 2015, Hill entered Little Big Town for a sentimental show of Girl Crush at the Billboard Music Awards, a show that demonstrated her potent attendance in the country music Planet State Hole. 1 year afterward, she entered 29 other country performers to tape Forever Country, a unique tune honoring the 50th anniversary of the CMA Awards, combining 3 classics, Take Me Home, Country Roads, On the Road Again, and I Will Always Love You. This partnership functioned as evidence of Hill's enduring mark on country music. By 2016, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw declared thrilling information they would start on the Soul II Soul World Tour 2017, starting in New Orleans and afterward broadening into Europe. At the C2C Country to Country Festival in 2018, Hill launched a unique album featuring her preferred pieces from previous albums along with several formerly unreleased tunes. This became her last endeavor under Warner Brothers and once again displayed Hill's adaptability and melodic approach. February 2017 indicated a notable pivot when Hill and McGraw inked with Sony Music Nashville, clearing the path for fresh solo and duet endeavors. Soon after they launched Speak to a Girl, the primary single from their combined album, The Rest of Our Life, which was launched in November 2017. The Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum also paid tribute to the pair with an display titled Mississippi Woman, Louisiana Man, emphasizing their influence and heritage in the country music scenery. Throughout her path, Faith Hill's profession has continuously developed while keeping its trademark core, a mixture of Mississippi origins, a profound enthusiasm for country music, and an authentic capability to link with admirers. It is exactly this mix that has assisted her sustain her position as an enduring symbol in the music planet.